Hey folks, Mac Ladman here, and I'm back with another fantasy map drawing tutorial. And today we're gonna work on a staple for any fantasy map, mountains. If you're making a continent for your Dungeons & Dragons campaign, well, you're gonna need some mountainous terrain. So let me show you how I do it. And I'm gonna include a few simple designs and tips for you to follow along. All right, let's go sketch. We're gonna start things off by making a series of triangles, but we're gonna keep the bottom part open for now. And we're also gonna stagger a few here. So we're gonna kind of cross some of the lines to make some of the shapes appear to be foreground and background. Next, I'm gonna create this ridge line starting from the peak, and it's gonna snake down on a bit of an angle down towards the bottom of the shape. And as you can see, just doing this gives it that craggy mountain look and shape. Now I'm gonna sketch out some trees at the base of the mountains here to really pull this together. And if you haven't checked it out already, I have a full tutorial on how I draw a variety of trees and forests. And for some final touches to really add some scale to these mountains, let's add in a few clouds. Okay, now that everything's set, it's time to ink it in. So I'm gonna go through carefully, taking my time, and I'm gonna follow these guidelines I laid in pencil. I'm starting with these clouds because they are in the foreground in front of these mountains. I'm gonna make sure all my cloud lines and mountain lines don't cross. When it comes to doing that vertical ridge line on the mountain, I switched over to the thinnest tip pen that I have to give it a bit of dynamic, so not all the lines are the same boldness. And there we go. We have simple line art for a mountain range that you could use in your fantasy map. Now, it doesn't look like it right now, but we built this all off of a very basic design. I feel like anyone who wants to draw a fantasy map, you could follow along with this tutorial and create exactly what I did here. All right, let's move on to another design here. This design is gonna look a little more craggy and rocky and rough. Unlike the simple triangle shapes that we did on the first design, we're still gonna be creating the two top connecting lines of a triangle, but we're gonna keep our straight lines quite rough. And just like before, we're creating different sizes, different widths, some in the foreground and some in the background. Once we're happy with the general shape of our mountains, again, we're gonna pull down this winding ridge from the peak and bring it down to the base. Just for the sake of switching it up a bit, I'm gonna give these snowy peaks. So here's a simple snowy peak design that I made. And just like the last example, to pull it all together, I'm gonna put some trees at the bottom, but I will show off a bit of a different tree design. We'll go with a more northern forest evergreen look. So I'm just creating these simple triangle shapes for my trees and forest. From there, I'm gonna grab my pen and I'm gonna ink it in. Again, just following my pencil guidelines and tweaking them where need be. Switching between my bolder tip and my finer tip pens. The bold tip being for more foreground objects and the thinner tip for background. And as you can see, I made some of the peaks very different. So we have some that just come to a perfect point, while others sort of come to a more flat plateau and fall off to a more vertical bluff or cliffside. For the snow, just using my thin pen and texturing it in with a little bit of dot work. And like before, we're gonna go the extra mile and add in some cloud shapes. Now, unlike before, I should have done this when everything was in pencil, so I could have added in some more foreground cloud shape that curl around and overlap the mountains. But I missed that step, so we're gonna do this now. And we'll just create some more wintry looking clouds to pull this all together. And there we have it, our second design. This one a little more advanced as we have less straight lines and simple geometry, but still, in reality, this still is a pretty simple design for anyone who wants to test their pen work a little bit. Now let's move on to something a little bit different. The first two designs were more horizontal, spanning, let's say, from west to east. Now let's do something more vertical, spanning from north to south. And this one's pretty fun because we're just gonna draw this simple jagged line, but this line will be what our mountain range follows. Every point or tip that we make is gonna be the peak of a mountain. We're gonna create a rough line and pull it back down. I'm already beginning to form a bit of a mountain range shape. And as you can see, using this technique, it kind of already creates a bit of foreground and background, overlapping mountains. Now I'm just gonna go in and kind of finesse some of the details, adding in any additional ridge lines that need be. Once we're happy with the general shape of this, it's time to ink it in, following all our rough pencil guidelines. Switching between bolder and fine point tips where need be. That looks pretty great, just like that. But now let's add in some detail and texture work. On one side of the mountain range, I'm gonna create a bit more of a shadowed texture with some line work. Now, if you're paying attention to your shadows and your light source throughout your map, you're gonna wanna do this cohesively with the shadowed side of other elements on your map. On this case, I'm gonna be making the shadowed side on the west side of the mountains. I'm just doing some rough line work, some shorter lines, some longer lines, just creating a bit of extra shape and dimension to these mountains. Now, this is a little bit more of an advanced technique, but hey, this looks awesome and kind of realistic too. All right, let's move on to one last mountain range design. We are gonna go with our more straight lines and simple triangle shapes, just like our first example, creating just a bunch of random triangle shapes, but just using the top two lines of our triangle, leaving the bottom open. We're creating some dynamics with smaller, bigger mountains, some tucked behind, some in front. And just like the first example, once we're done with the general shape, we're gonna create our ridge line. Again, just from the peak, we're just gonna do kind of a simple zigzag shape that runs down. And just to create a bit more of extra dynamic, I am gonna add in a little bit more shape to a couple of these mountains, kind of giving some of them a lower plateau or a lower peak. Using that texture technique from the last design we did, we're also gonna add in that bit of shadowed line work on the west side of each mountain. And again, when we're happy with it, let's switch over to pen and ink this in. Cool, there's our fourth mountain design, and it looks great. We could just leave it like this, but I'm gonna go the extra bit and I'm gonna quickly add in a surrounding forest. Check it out. Yeah, that really pulls it together. That looks awesome. And there we go. We just did 4 different mountain range designs, and most of them quite simple, that I feel like almost anyone could join me and follow along. All right, I want to thank you for taking the time to watch this video. So please comment or like this video or subscribe to this channel if you're digging what you see. All right, until next time.